This is a presentation on Alice in Wonderland, a novel by Lewis Carroll presented by Emma Stanley. A short summary of Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is the story of a young girl named Alice who is faced with quite the unusual circumstances after she makes an impulsive decision to follow a rabbit. Alice fell down the rabbit hole for seemingly forever, and she ends up in a very strange place. Throughout her journey in Wonderland, Alice meets many new curious characters that make Alice question herself and her ability. After a roller coaster of emotional physical changes, Alice wakes up to realize it was all a dream. This is a short character analysis. Alice. Alice is a young and inexperienced character. She is a child who is facing and dealing with the challenges of growing up. The White Rabbit. The White Rabbit is a timely and organized character, the first one to catch Alice's attention. He wears a coat, gloves, and has a watch, and he's always in a hurry. The Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts is an impulsive and inconsiderate character. She could care less about the organizations of things, but rather the execution of her power. First, quote analysis. It's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. This statement by Alice in the novel holds greater meaning than presented on the surface. Alice's constant physical changes nearly represent her own identity crisis. As she says she is not physically the same person, emotionally this applies to her as well. Second, quote analysis. The quote is, "It takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that." This quote in the novel applies to the Red Queen's race. This quote is strange as to its practical meaning. It means that with effort we may remain without progress, but it's more than we need to succeed. Symbolism in Alice in Wonderland. In Alice in Wonderland, nearly everything has a hidden meaning. A well-known example of symbolism in this novel would be the garden. In the novel, Alice's final destination was the garden, and it was her informal mission since the beginning. This is similar to the concept of the Garden of Eden. The garden may symbolize an idyllic space of beauty and innocence that Alice is not permitted to access. Paradox in Alice in Wonderland. In Alice in Wonderland, a very famous quote by the Mad Hatter is, "We're all mad here." This is a paradox as mad as they're normal, mad meaning crazy. In Alice's eyes, they all seem crazy and unusual, but this is what they're accustomed to. When the Mad Hatter says we're all mad here, he nearly contradicts himself, as they're not really mad if it's their normal. A metaphor in Alice in Wonderland. A very common metaphor in Alice in Wonderland is Alice going down the rabbit hole. In the very beginning of the novel, Alice makes the impulsive decision to follow the rabbit down the rabbit hole. This is a metaphor for Alice exploring the unknown. She is a young and inexperienced child, and when she goes down the rabbit hole, it introduces her to a whole new world. The end.